You're a monster!
Hello, I am beyond happy that I can finally welcome you to the promised Advanced Bubba guide. It is time that we change this horrible meta of holding W to make Bubba a high-risk, high-reward killer where not RNG decides the outcome of the match, but instead your skill and game sense. In this video I will only explain the many aspects of gameplay that most players probably didn't even know were possible. I will not go over add-ons and perk builds since that would stretch the video way too much. We will start with the basics by explaining his ability, then I will go over to movement with the chainsaw. After that we will discuss the importance of zoning until I can ultimately show you how you can outplay pretty much every single tile as Bubba. Most people will call me mental for that statement, but it is more than possible. For this video I will always be using Bamboozle and the two add-ons on screen, because I think they are absolutely necessary for this playstyle and unleash Bubba's full potential. I call this playstyle Flick Bubba. Also, don't let anyone tell you that Bamboozle is only for bad players, they probably use Spirit Fury Enduring. Enough talk, let's get into a game. Okay, so we're here on Coulter, since I think this is the best map to show off anything, so let's start with the ability and explaining the basics. So, first of all, if you just hold down M2, you will see a progress bar at the bottom. If it fills up to the maximum, it will trigger a chainsaw dash, and this will last for exactly 2 seconds if you're not using any chainsaw add-ons. But the purple chili increases every token for 0.5 seconds, for a maximum of 1.5 seconds if you chain all your 3 chainsaw tokens. So this one sweep just now lasted 2.5 seconds. In order to chain a chainsaw token, you just during chainsaw dash you press M2 again, and you can even press it again, and will consume your tokens, and you will be able to chain your chainsaw tokens. You have time as long as the red bar goes around in the circle with the bottom left indicator, and if you time it perfectly, your chainsaw can last to about 7.5 seconds, since that's the maximum of the chainsaw dash with the purple chili. So this is what it would look like if I moved around with it and chained it perfectly. Now that was quite a long chainsaw, that lasted for about 7.5 seconds. The window at the bottom left is actually very sensitive, so you should press when it goes around the last corner. So it would, about there. Okay, yeah, that was pretty much perfect. So while you're in your chainsaw dash, you will speed up to 132.25% movement speed without any add-ons. If you use the green Beast Marks add-on that I'm currently using, that increases the movement speed by 3% and it puts you to 135.25% movement speed. If you're planning on learning timings, I recommend using the chainsaw for distance every once in a while, so you can focus on getting the muscle memory set. You will have to be able to time your tokens perfectly without having to look at the indicator at all. Now, if you hold your chainsaw too long, as you can see by the bottom left indicator, a white circle goes around, and at the end you will trigger a tantrum. This will immobilize you for 5 seconds, but it will keep your chainsaw deadly, so if anyone runs into you, they'll still go down. Now if you bump into an obstacle during a chainsaw dash, you will still trigger the tantrum, and you will hardly be able to move. The more tokens you use, the longer your tantrum lasts, so for every consumed token, the chainsaw tantrum will increase by a second, and this can stack up to a maximum of 8 seconds if you consume all your tokens. For example, if I run around a bit, use all my tokens and then bump, this tantrum will now last for 8 seconds. And obviously, if you bump once, you will most likely lose chase. One important thing to notice is also that when you bump once, you will lose all of your tokens instantly. Now you can still use your bumps strategically. For example, when I now bump into a locker and the survivor is gonna try to jump out and try to time it perfectly, if they don't know the timing exactly, they will jump into you and go down. But if they time it correctly and your plan fails, keep in mind that you will not have any chainsaw tokens and you will most likely be forced to NM1 because they will probably make it to another tile. I will talk about the bumps later in more detail with the animations and everything when I discuss gameplay strategies, but for now let's get to the movement. Now, the most important thing about Bubba's chainsaw is that you're skilled enough in cutting corners as tightly as possible. This is what you have to practice before trying to do anything flashy with your chainsaw, because not being able to cut corners will make it impossible for you to catch up to survivors. I'm going to demonstrate cutting corners on this tile right here, a pallet gym, and it will basically look like this. Now if you're trying to moonwalk around a corner, then I suggest spinning... I suggest not moving like this, but instead, in order to not trigger a tantrum, you should spin around the corner so it's completely safe. So you move like this. With your chainsaw out, it would look like this. Like that. There are some invisible walls that I would like to show you before you get stuck on them, like I learned the hard way. For example, on every Macmillan map you're going to see this branch. It looks like it's way above your head, but actually, if you just run straight through it, you will trigger a tantrum on it. Now there is one way to actually bypass an invisible wall like this. You can actually moonwalk through it and you will not try and tantrum. Then we have another invisible wall right here with these fucking towels. Fog. In order to avoid this one, you can just walk through the middle right here. You shouldn't bump. Yep, exactly. And the last annoying hitbox I have to show you for now is located on Althaven Wreckers. It's on every generic tile. It's this dog shit tire right here. You can for some reason bump on it with your chainsaw really easily if you try to cut it tightly. So it's gonna look like this. Yes, I definitely hit this. I definitely hit a wall there. Damn. So if you try to avoid this, just go a bit wider. So like this. You can also look away from it and then navigate by pressing down S and D and just glide next to the wall instead of trying to go around it by holding W. You can always just use your other buttons as well. Ugh. Now let's talk about zoning. Generally, you want to push survivors into dead ends, namely corners of the map or the general outskirt of the map. You want to push survivors away from mainly shack over there, and main building over here, since those are the most painful tiles to work with as killer. You should always try to force chainsaw downs and avoid M1s, unless you have like 20 chain TL walls and you've got better things to do in life. Still, the potential of insta-downing provides huge snowball potential in any scenario. I therefore suggest to break pallets and vault windows so survivors get pushed into the corner and can't run directly to the next tile. Best example is having a TL wall next to main building on Coulter, just as we got it right here. You just path it in a way so survivors can't reach the main, and we're gonna demonstrate that now. The next thing he's probably gonna do here is vault the L, and we're gonna zone him away from the main building. So we're gonna go around. This is not pathing wrong at all, and we can bamboozle this to completely zone him away from this tile, and now he's completely stuck on the T. He can't make a T either since we're standing right here, so he's gonna be completely stuck on the TE wall, and then we can try to force a chainsaw down. Now this is the part where I show you key mechanics of this playstyle and how you can actually make Bubba extremely cracked. So the first thing I'm gonna demonstrate is how you can completely outplay loops. If the survivor greets once, he should be dead. I'm gonna demonstrate that right now with my friend who's gonna greet the pallet. Now he's gonna run this way, and he's gonna greet now. Now, what you wanna do in this scenario, you stand on the pallet and rev. Now you let your chainsaw run for a bit, you force him towards the pallet, then you 180, and you catch him around on the way. Catch up on the way around, before he can make it back to the pallet. You can basically do this on every single pallet. If you have, for example, a long wall or whatever, then you probably need some moonwalks to make it even more effective. Pallet gyms are basically the same thing, but you have no line of sight on survivors at all times. Instead of this, you know exactly where the survivor is, but here you have to guess or develop good game sense so you know what survivors basically do. So what you want to do on pallet gyms instead is you want to confuse the survivor by using a billion moonwalks on these tiles. You always have to take into consideration that survivors can look around the loops or look around corners, peek around corners, so they know exactly what side you're coming from, especially on this tile right here. So my mate over here is gonna greet the pallet, and then I'm gonna try to outplay him on it by moonwalking 20 billion times, faking my red light. So same thing, we're gonna make out where he's staying on the pallet right here, so we're gonna now rev the chainsaw on the pallet. I'm gonna take going this way, moonwalk, turn. And I can catch him up before he makes it back to the pallet. So, what do we do about strong loops like pallet gyms right here? Well, I would suggest just bamboozling the window and break the pallet from the side where you don't want the survivor. You basically want to cut off any chaining potential. So right here what we have is a pallet gym, here we have a hill, and there's nothing over here, so we want to push the survivor in this general direction so he's stuck completely in the corner, or maybe push him in this direction where he doesn't have any tiles to work with, so he's definitely dead. So basically if Clay started on this side right here, and he would of course run to the window now and try to vault it maybe, so he gains as much distance as possible. We're gonna bamboozle after him and force him to drop the pallet and then break it from the side where he can't make it back to this part of the map where there's a loop here and potentially a pallet gym over there. So we're gonna start chase here, and now let's see what happens. We're gonna follow him right here, see what he does. Insta-vaulting, gonna bamboozle the window so you can't use it anymore. He's gonna drop the pallet here, we're gonna go around and break it from this side. He's gonna try to run into this corner, but he doesn't have anything to work with, the window is still bamboozled, and the area is completely dead, and we will 100% die here. Now Shack is no different. Since you already have the threat with bamboozle, the window is mostly not going to be used by the survivor at all, so you can get rid of this loop especially quickly as well. You don't just want to break the pallet, however, you also want to use it for zoning, just like we used it on that tile over there. Right here we have a short wall pallet jungle gym, which could chain to Shack, so we want to be smart about our zoning. If we start chase right here, he's gonna run to the pallet, most likely drop it so he doesn't go down instantly, and then we're gonna bamboozle the window and go around the outside and then break the pallet from the outside. This might look a bit dumb, but it's actually really smart. We're gonna see now. Okay, so he's gonna run to the pallet. Instead of breaking from the inside, we're gonna go around. He's gonna vault back inside. We're gonna pre-rev so we insta-break it. We're gonna run this direction so he doesn't make it to the jungle gym. And we cut him off here and he's got nothing to work with yet again. One important comment about your token consumption: if you want to get rid of a pallet quickly or wanting to outplay it and you just want to force it down, you want to rev your chainsaw, then consume the 1 token to destroy the pallet, and with the 2 remaining tokens you can actually instantly rev your chainsaw after breaking the pallet and catch up to the survivor. I'm gonna demonstrate that right now. We can barely catch up to survivor and down him before he makes it to the next pallet or tile. What are we going to do on TL walls? You should try to zone a survivor on one of the walls, then try to outplay it with your chainsaw with lots of moonwalking and hiding a red light. You should always take into consideration that survivors can see you around corners, so fake going one way and then going the other way is utmost effective. Let's give you an example. He's obviously gonna run behind the T-wall, but he's gonna be completely zoned there, and we're gonna try to down him without him wanting him, and just gonna try to force the chainsaw down. Well, he's gonna run here now. We're gonna fake going this direction, hide our light, and spin around this corner. He's gonna be surprised and accidentally run into us because he thought it was gonna go around. Spin around the corner, we're gonna catch him because he panic vaulted, thinking that we're gonna hold W and catch him off. There's one important thing to know about bombs and how you can use them strategically. Every bump animation is unique. The 1 token bump animation is short and fast. The 2 bump animation is slow but has the same amount of swings as the 1 bump animation. And the 3 token bump animation is as fast as the 1 bump animation but lasts significantly longer. From a survivor's POV, it looks like this. How can we utilize this? When you start your chainsaw and the survivor immediately searches cover in a locker, quickly spam click all your tokens. They will assume you only use 1 token and try to time it, jumping out after 6 seconds. However, you are in the 3 token bump animation, which looks the same, but lasts longer, so they will jump into your chainsaw and immediately go down. This will obviously not work against survivors that don't pay attention, as they would just wait out your animation, and so instead, just try to grab them at the end. You can also consume 1 token and not bombs, since the cooldown of the whiff runs out quickly and you might grab them that way. I'm gonna rev early so he can't make it to the pallet in time, so he's gonna panic and find cover in the locker. Gonna spam click all my tokens, and he's gonna assume that I'm the 1 token animation. You can also fake the other directions, and he's gonna jump out prematurely and go down.
That is it for the Advanced Bubba gameplay guide. I hope you could all learn something from this and that it could inspire you to adapt this playstyle and get creative on your own. I would really like to see more Bubbas play like this and not just hold W, since that's what this color is known for. Enjoy your future games, and I'll see you again in the next video. Thanks for watching.